Christmas Eve had a strange, almost suffocating vibe that year. Snow was beginning to dust the streets outside, turning the neighborhood into a quiet, white wonderland. But inside my house, the air was tense, heavy with words left unsaid. My son, Liam, wandered through the living room, a forced smile plastered on his face. Glancing at the decorations I put up, his wife, Olivia, was across the room, giving me those sharp, dismissive looks, like she owned everything, even my house. The audacity of her! She had decided, apparently, that Christmas this year was all about proving some point, some twisted lesson that only she understood. She declared there would be no gifts for Liam, trying to make him feel guilty for something he hadn't even done. I stayed in the kitchen, pretending to fuss with the last of the dishes, while my mind raced. For weeks, I had been quietly investigating Olivia. "This," he said, scanning the documents, "is the easiest divorce case I've seen in years. She has no legal grounds. The infidelity, the manipulation, the fraud, it's all here. 3 months, max." It was surreal to see Liam regain confidence. The tension that had weighed on him for months was finally lifting, replaced by a sense of empowerment. He was no longer a victim of Olivia's games. He was reclaiming his life, piece by piece. Olivia did hire a lawyer, but when he saw the evidence, he advised her to settle quickly. Liam kept everything: the apartment, the furniture, his savings. She walked away with only her clothes and designer purses. No alimony, no property, nothing. It was justice, swift and complete, and Liam's face finally relaxed in relief. For the first time in months, he was free. And it was evident in the small moments. One evening, while helping me clear the dinner dishes, he laughed genuinely at a joke I made, a sound that had been absent from our house for far too long. He talked about resuming his hobbies, reconnecting with friends, and even going to the gym again. Olivia had tried to isolate him, but now he was free to rebuild. And I could see the old Liam, the kind who smiled without fear, who trusted people carefully, but with warmth, returning. Weeks passed, and life slowly regained normalcy. Liam would visit me often, sometimes bringing coffee, sometimes just to talk. One Sunday morning, we sat in the garden, snow melting in gentle patches around us. He looked over at me, a hint of vulnerability in his expression. "Mom, Olivia made me feel like spending time with you was a chore, an obligation. But now, I realize how much I missed this. Missed you." My heart ached and swelled at the same time. "I missed you too, Liam. But you're here now. That's what matters." It wasn't long before life introduced something new. By April, Liam met Sarah, a colleague from his engineering firm. Unlike Olivia, she was genuine, unpretentious, her smile warm and honest. One evening, Liam brought her home to meet me. My first impression was clear. This woman wasn't playing games, and she genuinely cared for him. They prepared dinner together, laughing and chatting with ease. A stark contrast to the tension and manipulation that had dominated his previous marriage. After dinner, Liam took my hand. "Mom, Sarah and I were serious. I wanted you to know, and we want your blessing." I looked at Sarah, who met my gaze with genuine hope and respect. You have my blessing, I said warmly, and welcome to our family. That night, as I drove home, the streets blanketed in snow, I reflected on how life takes strange turns. That Christmas Eve, with the envelope in my bag, had been brutal. Exposing Olivia, watching Liam's pain, confronting the betrayal. It had been necessary, but it had also been the catalyst for everything good that followed. Love sometimes demands difficult choices. Protecting those you care about often hurts, but it strengthens bonds. Standing up for the truth may be painful, but it frees everyone in the end. That night, I realized something important. My house remained my sanctuary. My son was safe, and Liam's life had taken a new, honest direction. The past had been harsh, but the future promised peace, laughter, and genuine love. Finally, spring had begun to touch the edges of the city, the snow replaced by soft rain and budding flowers. Liam's apartment was alive with fresh energy. He and Sarah had settled into a comfortable rhythm, cooking together, decorating small corners with plants, and laughing like life had finally given them a second chance. I visited often, sometimes for dinner, sometimes just to sit and watch them. The difference was staggering. The tension that had once hung over Liam like a dark cloud had vanished, replaced by light, warmth, and laughter. "Mom, it's Olivia," Liam began. My stomach sank slightly. "She's trying one last move. She contacted her lawyer again. She claims she has proof that some of the money she lost was not entirely her fault, that I somehow owe her." I felt a surge of frustration. That woman never stopped. "Did she say how much she wants?" I asked, sitting down. "Everything she can get. Spousal support, back payments, maybe even part of the apartment's value," Liam said. His hands trembled slightly as he flipped through emails from her lawyer. "I don't understand. How is she still trying this after everything?" Sarah reached over and squeezed his hand. "Because she's desperate, Liam. She's used to getting what she wants. But we know the truth. We have all the evidence." I nodded. "Exactly. You didn't just win the first battle, Liam. You've built a mountain of proof against her. The judge will see the reality." We spent the evening organizing every document, every video, every message. Liam was meticulous, methodical, determined to protect himself and Sarah from any further manipulation. We reviewed the envelope I had given him months ago, the photos, the bank statements, Olivia's own admissions, and made sure copies were secure in multiple locations. That night, as I left Liam's apartment, I felt a mix of pride and unease. Cried because my son was finally strong and self-assured again. Unease because Olivia's presence still lingered like a shadow, a reminder that not all battles end quietly. A week later, the court date arrived. Liam, Sarah, and I drove together, the city buzzing with life around us. Liam was calm, almost serene, but I knew the tension beneath the surface. Sarah's hand in his was a grounding presence. We walked into the courtroom, the air thick with anticipation. Olivia was there, looking sharp and confident, but the confidence was brittle. Her lawyer approached the judge, trying to make the case for her last-minute claims, but the mountain of evidence Liam presented was undeniable. Photographs of infidelity, messages planning theft, bank statements showing her financial deception. Everything was laid out clearly, fact after fact, leaving no room for doubt. The judge's eyes softened as he examined the documents. Miss Olivia, it seems the claims against Mr. Liam are not substantiated. In fact, the evidence shows manipulation and infidelity on your part. He paused, letting the weight of his words settle in the courtroom. All previous settlements stand. No further claims will be considered. The case is closed. A sense of relief washed over Liam, his shoulders finally relaxing. Sarah smiled at him, her eyes shining with pride. I couldn't help but feel tears prick at my own eyes. Months of stress, months of pain had finally culminated in this moment of justice. After court, we went back to Liam's apartment. He collapsed onto the couch, exhausted, but happy. Sarah rested her head on his shoulder, and I sat nearby, sipping tea. Liam looked at me and smiled. Mom, I couldn't have done this without you. You saved me, protected me, and gave me the strength to fight. I reached over and touched his hand. You didn't need saving, Liam. You just needed the truth. And sometimes, all it takes is standing by the people you love to make the difference. Weeks passed, and life continued to settle into a peaceful rhythm. Liam and Sarah grew closer every day, their bond strong and genuine. They explored the city together, went hiking on weekends, and hosted small dinner parties for friends. Liam reconnected with colleagues and friends he had drifted from during his toxic marriage. Each day, he became more himself, confident, kind, and grounded. One evening, Liam and Sarah invited me over for dinner. They had spent the day preparing my favorite dishes, laughing in the kitchen as they worked together. The apartment felt warm, full of life, completely free from the shadows of the past. Liam took my hand after dinner. Mom, Sarah and I want you to be part of our lives as we move forward. We want you to be part of our future too. I smiled, feeling a surge of love and pride. I'll always be part of your life, Liam. And I'm glad you've found someone who truly values and respects you. Sarah, welcome to the family. Sarah's eyes shimmered with emotion. Thank you. It means so much to me. As I drove home that night, I reflected on the journey we had endured. From Christmas Eve's revelation, the exposure of lies, the emotional roller coaster, and the bitter fights, to the calm after the storm, it had been a test of love, resilience, and justice. I'd notice how she subtly manipulated Liam, planting doubts, pushing him to act against his own instincts, and even trying to control the house I had raised him in. She smiled, sweet and calculated, but her words and actions left scars. I couldn't just sit back anymore. I couldn't let her poison my son's life any longer. When Olivia finally said she was running errands, that was my cue. I grabbed my phone and dialed Frank, the private investigator I had hired weeks ago. Frank, I whispered, keeping my voice low. Everything's ready. Tonight, Liam sees the truth. And Olivia, she won't see it coming. I sat back in the quiet kitchen, staring at the envelope I had tucked safely in my bag. Inside were months of proof. Messages, emails, photos, even videos, all irrefutable evidence of Olivia's betrayal. I knew Liam had been hurt, manipulated, pressured, but he didn't realize how deep Olivia's schemes went. My son had reclaimed his life, protected his heart, and found someone who genuinely cared for him. And I, as a mother, had stood firm, not with anger or control, but with truth and unwavering support. Life was fragile, unpredictable, but sometimes it demanded difficult choices. And sometimes those choices, painful as they were, led to freedom, peace, and the kind of happiness that lasts. That night, I looked out my window at the city lights, feeling content. The storm had passed, the darkness lifted, and a new chapter was beginning for all of us. Spring had fully arrived, painting the city in shades of green and gold. Liam and Sarah had settled into a rhythm that felt effortless, a rhythm built on trust, respect, and laughter. They spent their mornings at the gym, afternoons exploring small cafes, and evenings experimenting with new recipes in Liam's kitchen. I visited often, sometimes just to share tea and stories, other times to help with chores or garden advice. Their apartment, once filled with tension and shadows, now felt alive, warm, and welcoming. One Saturday morning, Liam called me in a slightly anxious tone. "Mom, I think Olivia is trying something. I'm not sure yet, but I need your advice." Alarm bells rang in my head, but I kept my voice calm. "What is she doing now?" She's sending emails to my colleagues, trying to tarnish my reputation, claims I mishandled funds at work, exaggerates stories from our past. I don't know how far this will go. I could feel the frustration building inside me. That woman never stopped, never relented, but I took a deep breath. Okay, first, don't panic. This is just noise. Second, we document everything, every email, every message, every screenshot. Third, we keep your work informed. Transparency is your shield. By the afternoon, we were at Liam's apartment. Laptops open, filing everything meticulously. Sarah was calm but vigilant, helping organize documents and saving copies in secure cloud storage. Liam was tense, but I could see the old fire in his eyes. The same fire that had helped him navigate months of manipulation, deceit, and betrayal. "I can't believe she's still trying," Liam muttered. "After everything, why can't she just leave me alone?" I placed a hand on his shoulder. Because she never understood that truth and integrity matter more than manipulation. She thrives on chaos, Liam. That's her world. But you've chosen a different path. That's why you're winning, even if she doesn't see it. Over the next few days, Liam contacted HR at his company, explained the situation calmly, and provided evidence proving Olivia's claims were baseless. His colleagues were supportive, and the company assured him that nothing in his record would be affected. Olivia's attempts to damage his career fizzled almost immediately. Amid all this, Liam and Sarah's relationship continued to bloom. They spent quiet afternoons reading together, taking long walks through parks, and planning small weekend trips. The intimacy between them wasn't just physical or romantic, it was emotional, grounded in respect and shared joy. Liam had learned to trust again, slowly, carefully, and Sarah never gave him a reason to doubt. One evening, Sarah invited me over for dinner. Liam had a grin as he opened the door. "Mom, I think tonight's meal might beat your cooking," he joked. The kitchen smelled of roasted vegetables, herbs, and freshly baked bread. Sarah worked gracefully, her movements confident yet gentle, a stark contrast to the pretentious and calculated behavior of Olivia. Over dinner, Liam and Sarah shared plans for the future. A small house in the suburbs, a quiet garden, a life built together, not torn apart by lies. "I can't wait for you to see it, Mom," Liam said. "We want you to be part of this new chapter." I smiled, a sense of contentment washing over me. "I'll always be part of your life, Liam. Seeing you happy, seeing you safe, that's all I've ever wanted." After dinner, Liam and Sarah cleaned the kitchen together while I relaxed in the living room, observing their easy teamwork and playful banter. They laughed over small mistakes, shared glances full of warmth, and occasionally caught my eye with smiles that said, "We've survived. We're okay." Suddenly, Liam's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and frowned slightly. "It's Olivia." I felt my stomach tighten, but Liam didn't answer. Sarah raised an eyebrow. "Are you going to pick up?" "No," Liam said firmly. "Not anymore. We've proven the truth. There's nothing she can do." The phone buzzed again, a text this time. Liam read it silently. His jaw tightened, but he didn't react immediately. After a moment, he showed Sarah and me. Olivia was demanding that he return some minor personal items she claimed belonged to her. Liam laughed softly, shaking his head. She really thinks they traveled to the countryside, hosted small gatherings for friends, and shared quiet mornings sipping coffee while planning their future. Olivia faded from the story entirely, a ghost of the past whose manipulations no longer had any power over our lives. One Sunday afternoon, Liam called me to join them in their small balcony garden. Sarah had planted flowers in every corner, and the space was filled with sunlight, laughter, and warmth. Liam turned to me, holding both of my hands. "Mom, thank you for everything. I know I was lost for a while, but your guidance, your love, your strength, it saved me." Tears welled in my eyes. "You didn't need saving, Liam. You just needed the truth, and you found it. I'm proud of you." Sarah smiled, her eyes shining. "You've created a strong, loving family here. It's beautiful to see." Liam pulled me into a hug, and for a moment, the months of pain, manipulation, and heartbreak melted away. What remained was the warmth of family, the triumph of truth, and the promise of a future built on honesty and love. That night, as I drove home, I looked at the city lights twinkling under the summer sky. The storm had passed, the darkness lifted, and a new chapter had begun, not just for Liam and Sarah, but for all of us. Life had tested us, pushed us to our limits, but love, truth, and resilience had prevailed. And as the cool night breeze brushed against my face, I felt at peace, knowing that some battles, no matter how fierce, are worth fighting for. Summer was settling into its full glory, and the days stretched lazily into warm evenings filled with golden sunlight. Liam and Sarah had grown more comfortable in their routine, their bond deepening with every shared moment. Evenings were spent cooking together, sharing quiet conversations about their day, or just lounging on the balcony with a gentle breeze brushing through the flowers Sarah had planted. Life felt calm, almost like a reward after the storm of the past months. But calm, I had learned over the years, could be deceptive. One afternoon, Liam's phone buzzed repeatedly while he was working on a project. He frowned at the screen, picking it up hesitantly. "It's Olivia," he muttered. I felt my stomach tighten instinctively, but I stayed calm. Liam didn't immediately answer. "She still has the audacity?" I asked, my voice low but firm. Liam shook his head. "She's sending emails to my old clients, trying to stir confusion, claiming I mishandled certain projects at work. It's petty, but I don't know if she's planning to escalate this." Sarah put a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Don't let her shake you. We handle this the same way we did before. Document everything, stay professional, and ignore the drama." Over the next few hours, we sifted through the messages, screenshots, and emails. Olivia's attempts were transparent, full of exaggerations and half-truths, but I knew that Liam's workplace could be affected if she managed to slip in just one convincing story. We carefully documented every interaction, backed it up in multiple secure locations, and prepared a professional response through HR. "That should shut her down," I said, folding my arms with satisfaction. "This is why you keep evidence. Truth doesn't need exaggeration, but lies can't survive it either." Liam exhaled, tension leaving his shoulders. "You're right, Mom. It just never ends with her, does it?" She had planned everything, including financial manipulations that could have cost him thousands, and she had the audacity to try to frame me as the villain for even questioning her. The house was silent, except for the ticking of the old clock on the wall. I thought about how Liam used to sit here as a kid, doing homework at this very table, dreaming big dreams about life and love. Now he was caught in the middle of a nightmare, blind to the truth, trusting a woman who didn't deserve him. My heart ached at the thought. I wanted to scream, to shake him awake. But I knew that tonight, timing was everything. When Liam returned from the living room, he looked tired, almost defeated. "Mom," he said, his voice quiet, "what's taking so long?" I forced a small smile. "Just getting ready for Christmas dinner," I said. Inside, I was already planning my next moves. Liam had no idea that after dinner, his world would shift completely. I shook my head. People like Olivia feed on chaos. But you've chosen stability, love, and honesty. That's more powerful than anything she could ever do. Despite Olivia's shadow, Liam and Sarah's life continued to blossom. They took weekend trips to the countryside, discovered quaint little cafes in the city, and spent lazy mornings reading together. Liam even reconnected with friends he hadn't seen in years, some of whom Olivia had subtly alienated during their marriage. The genuine warmth of friendship returned to him, replacing the isolation Olivia had carefully constructed. One Saturday evening, I visited their apartment for dinner. The kitchen smelled of roasted vegetables, fresh herbs, and baked bread. Sarah greeted me with a smile, her eyes warm and sincere. "Mom, we wanted tonight to be special," she said, gesturing to the table adorned with candles and flowers. Liam smiled nervously. "We cooked together. It might not be perfect, but we tried." We laughed as we tasted the dishes. Every bite was infused with care, patience, and shared effort. A stark contrast to the superficial elegance Olivia had brought to their lives. The atmosphere was light, filled with laughter, gentle teasing, and the quiet satisfaction of creating something together. After dinner, we moved to the balcony. The city sprawled beneath us, lights twinkling like stars in the urban night. Liam and Sarah leaned against the railing, Sarah's head resting lightly on his shoulder. He turned to me with a thoughtful expression. "Mom, I feel like life is finally aligning, but sometimes I still worry. What if Olivia tries something bigger? What if she comes back with a legal claim or tries to stir more trouble?" I placed a hand on his arm. "Liam, the past is over. You've done everything right, documented, protected yourself, stayed honest. People like Olivia eventually run out of ways to manipulate. Don't let fear control your happiness." He nodded, absorbing my words, but the tension lingered. I could tell he still carried a small trace of anxiety, a leftover from months of manipulation and betrayal. As the summer weeks passed, Olivia made one last feeble attempt. She tried to contact mutual acquaintances, spreading rumors and half-truths, but her efforts were quickly dismantled by the concrete evidence Liam had collected. Every email, every screenshot, every video recording, and message from the past months became a shield against her lies. By the time September rolled around, Olivia had faded completely from the story, a ghost of the past whose manipulations no longer held any sway. With her gone, Liam and Sarah's life flourished. They decorated their apartment with personal touches, from Sarah's potted plants to Liam's collection of vintage books. Their weekends were filled with simple pleasures, bike rides through the park, coffee at quiet cafes, and evenings of cooking together. Liam began to regain the confidence that Olivia had chipped away over time, and Sarah's presence reminded him that love could be patient, sincere, and freeing. One evening, I visited again. Liam had planned a small surprise, a backyard fire pit for late-night conversations. We sat together under a sky full of stars, the warmth of the fire contrasting the cool night air. Liam spoke quietly, his eyes reflecting the flames. "Mom, I can finally breathe again. I can feel like myself, not someone trapped in a lie or trying to please someone who never cared." I smiled, feeling tears prick at the corners of my eyes. "That's because you fought for the truth, Liam. And sometimes the hardest battles create the most beautiful victories." Sarah reached out and held Liam's hand. "And now we get to build our life without fear or manipulation, together." The warmth of that moment lingered long after I left. As I drove home under the night sky, I realized that the months of deception, pain, and heartbreak had led us to this: strength, love, and a future full of promise. Life, I had learned, tested us not to break us, but to reveal the depth of our resilience and the power of truth. And for Liam and Sarah, the path ahead was no longer shadowed by past lies. It was bright, open, and entirely theirs to shape. The days after the divorce felt strangely light, yet heavy at the same time. William was back in his own apartment, reclaiming his space as if peeling layers of a long, suffocating winter. Every item he touched, the couch, the shelves, the kitchenware, seemed to whisper, "This is yours. Finally, it's yours." But with that newfound freedom came the weight of months lost, of trust broken, and of lessons painfully learned. I watched him from my own living room, through calls and occasional visits, as he began to piece together his life like a mosaic. It was slow, deliberate work. He returned to hobbies he had abandoned, first timidly, then with growing enthusiasm. Painting, which had once been his escape from Olivia's constant complaints about wasting time, now became a sanctuary. He started with small canvases, a sunset over the lake near his child. Each stroke of the brush seemed to release some of the tension he had carried for months. Work, too, regained its place in his life. Sarah, his new colleague turned companion, brought a gentle balance. She wasn't overbearing or demanding, but observant and kind, grounding him when memories of Olivia threatened to surface. They would meet for lunch or grab coffee, sometimes even taking evening walks through the city park where the autumn leaves fell in slow, golden spirals. William's smiles returned, not the tentative ones that had once been clouded by guilt or anger, but genuine, relaxed expressions that reflected a heart slowly healing. One Saturday, he came over with a bag full of groceries and a shy grin. "I thought we could cook together," he said, placing the ingredients on my kitchen counter. I raised an eyebrow, smiling. He had a way of making simple gestures feel monumental. That afternoon, we chopped vegetables, stirred sauces, and laughed at minor spills. It was ordinary, but in its ordinariness, it was comforting. A stark contrast to the chaos Olivia had dragged into our lives. Between our cooking sessions and quiet afternoons, we tackled the remnants of her manipulation, financial discrepancies, odd phone messages, and reminders of her deceit. William handled each piece with a calm precision, backed by his lawyer's guidance. Every email or text from Olivia that hinted at entitlement or confrontation was met with documented evidence of her betrayal. Each encounter, whether in writing or in court, reinforced the truth. The deception was hers, the consequences were hers, and he no longer had to carry the weight of her lies. One evening, after a day of paperwork and minor victories, William sat in my living room with a cup of tea, staring at the family photographs on the wall. His gaze lingered on an old picture of him at 10, laughing with his father, the kind of laughter untouched by adult worries or betrayals. "Mom," he said softly, "I don't know how I got through all of that without completely losing myself, but looking at all of this, I remember who I really am, who we really are." I reached over, squeezing his hand. "You didn't lose yourself, William. You were just hidden for a while. Manipulated. But you remembered, and that's all that matters." His expression softened. "And you were my anchor through all of it. I don't think I could ever truly thank you enough." "You already have," I said, "by trusting yourself again, by choosing truth over lies, even when it was hard." Weeks turned into months. William began to invite Sarah more regularly into our family routines. Sunday brunches, evening walks, even quiet evenings in my living room, discussing books or movies. Their connection grew organically, a stark contrast to the tension-filled atmosphere that Olivia had left behind. Sarah's laughter was gentle but infectious, her presence calming yet enlivening. She wasn't just filling a void. She was helping build something new alongside William, something genuine. And yet, life wasn't entirely free from the shadows of the past. Olivia had tried to contact William a few times, claiming confusion or repentance. Each attempt was met with firm boundaries. We documented every interaction, ensuring nothing was left unchecked. Her attempts dwindled when she realized she had no leverage, no legal standing, and no audience willing to entertain her manipulation. I helped him clear some dishes, and we worked in silence. A comfortable, almost nostalgic silence filled the room. The same silence that had existed when he was a teenager, and I helped him after family dinners. There was a flicker of the old Liam, the one who had been joyful and trusting, hidden beneath the tension Olivia had draped over him. I could see it in his eyes, the exhaustion, the worry, the unspoken questions he hadn't dared to ask. Finally, I broke the silence. "Liam, I need you to trust me tonight," I said, keeping my voice steady but gentle. He looked at me, confusion and fatigue mingling on his face. "Mom, what are you talking about?" I reached into my bag and gently pulled out the envelope. "Everything you need to know is in here." His eyes widened, and he instinctively stepped back. "Mom, what is this?" I smiled softly, the way I did when he was little and nervous about a school performance. One chilly morning, as the first snowflakes of the season began to fall, William invited me over to his apartment. The place was transformed, filled with personal touches that spoke of a man reclaiming his identity. Photographs of friends, small plants on windowsills, paintings lining the walls, and hints of Sarah's warmth scattered throughout. The apartment smelled of fresh bread and cinnamon, something they had baked together that morning. "Mom," William said, taking my hand, "I wanted to show you. This is mine. Ours. I mean, in a sense, because you helped me get here. You helped me see that life could be better." I smiled, taking in the scene. "I'm proud of you. Every step you've taken has led to this moment." Sarah appeared from the kitchen with 2 steaming mugs of cocoa. "We saved one for you," she said, handing it to me with a shy smile. It was simple, warm, unpretentious. Everything Olivia had never been. I felt a rush of relief knowing my son had found someone who treated him with respect and care. Someone who didn't demand or manipulate, but nurtured. We spent the afternoon talking, laughing, and planning minor holiday decorations together. For the first time in months, the weight of past betrayal was replaced by genuine joy, by a sense of family and trust that had been nearly lost, but was now restored. William and Sarah's hands intertwined across the table, their connection effortless, a testament to resilience and new beginnings. As I left that evening, stepping into the soft glow of streetlights dusted with snow, I realized something profound. Sometimes the hardest battles are the ones fought quietly, behind closed doors, in silence and patience. Protecting those we love may demand everything from us, but the reward is a life reclaimed, a heart healed, and a future unburdened by lies. And for the first time in months, I truly felt at peace. Spring arrived, bringing a sense of renewal that mirrored the changes in our lives. The snow had melted, flowers began to bloom, and even the sunlight felt warmer somehow. William's apartment, once cold and empty, now radiated life. Sarah had settled in as if she'd always belonged there, her laughter echoing in the hallways and her presence bringing a quiet stability. I noticed the change in William too. His posture more relaxed, his smile more natural, his steps lighter. The weight of months of manipulation and deceit had finally lifted. One Saturday morning, William invited me to join them for brunch. He had prepared everything himself, refusing any help from Sarah, wanting to show me how far he'd come. The table was filled with golden waffles, scrambled eggs, fresh fruit, and steaming mugs of coffee. Watching him move around the kitchen, confident and calm, made my heart swell with pride. He had reclaimed his independence in every sense. "Mom," he said as we sat down, "I've been thinking about everything that happened, about how Olivia tried to control me, to manipulate me, to take what wasn't hers. I can't undo the past, but I want to do something for the future. I want to make sure this never happens to anyone else." I raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "I want to start a foundation for people in abusive relationships," he said, eyes bright, "to provide support, legal help, and counseling. If I could help even one person avoid what I went through, it would be worth it." I reached across the table, squeezing his hand. "William, that's incredible. You're turning your pain into purpose. That's exactly what I hoped you'd do. You've grown stronger through this." Sarah smiled, reaching out to touch his arm. "He's not just stronger. He's wiser now, and he wants to help others with the lessons he's learned." The conversation shifted to plans and ideas, sketches of programs and resources, lists of contacts William had already gathered. I listened, amazed at how quickly he had transformed the trauma of the past into a mission to help others. It wasn't just about healing himself anymore. It was about creating something meaningful, something lasting. Over the next few weeks, William began to dedicate more of his time to the foundation. Sarah helped him organize events, reach out to legal professionals, and connect with therapists willing to volunteer their time. I watched as he balanced this new passion with his work, his social life, and the restored bond with me. It was inspiring to see him thrive without the shadows of manipulation clouding his path. Meanwhile, our own family life had grown lighter and happier. Sunday dinners became a tradition again, not just for William and me, but with Sarah now included. The warmth in the house was palpable. Laughter, easy conversation, and a sense of belonging filled every corner. I even started a small garden in the backyard, something William had always loved. We spent weekends planting flowers, trimming hedges, and reminiscing about old times. These moments were simple, but they were pure happiness, untainted by past betrayals. One evening, as the sun dipped low in the sky, William and Sarah invited me to a quiet dinner at a small rooftop cafe overlooking the city. The lights twinkled like stars below, and the air was crisp with the promise of early summer. We talked about dreams, fears, and the small victories that had brought us here. Sarah leaned her head on William's shoulder, and he glanced at me with a soft smile. "You did this, Mom," he said quietly. "You protected me when I couldn't protect myself. You gave me the tools to stand up, to see the truth, and to rebuild my love. I wouldn't be here without you." I felt tears prick my eyes, but I smiled, keeping my composure. "You had it in you all along, William. I just reminded you who you really were." Sarah reached out, taking my hand. "You're a remarkable woman. I can see where William gets his strength and integrity." That night, Driving back home under the glittering city lights, I reflected on the journey we had taken. Olivia's shadow no longer loomed over us. Her attempts to control, manipulate, and steal were nothing more than memories, reminders of strength and vigilance. What remained was the bond between a mother and her son, stronger than ever, and a new, healthy love blossoming in his life. As I settled into bed that night, I realized something profound. Life doesn't always follow the path we expect, but it gives us opportunities to fight for what matters, to protect the ones we love, and to embrace the truth, no matter how painful it may be. That truth had set us free, healed old wounds, and opened doors to a future filled with hope, love, and peace. For the first time in a long time, I slept soundly, knowing that our family had not only survived the storm, but had emerged stronger, wiser, and closer than ever. Summer had fully arrived, bringing long, golden days and warm evenings. Life had settled into a rhythm I hadn't realized I'd missed for years. William and Sarah were growing closer every day, their love grounded in respect, honesty, and laughter. Visiting them had become a weekly joy, a reminder of how far we had all come since that harsh Christmas Eve that had changed everything. One afternoon, William called me while I was tending my garden. "Mom, can you come over? I've got something to show you." Curiosity piqued, I put down my tools and drove to his apartment. When I arrived, the door opened to reveal a small gathering: friends, family, and a few of the people who had helped William with his foundation. The apartment had been transformed into a celebration space, filled with flowers, warm lights, and the hum of conversation. "Surprise!" William said, stepping forward with Sarah by his side. He held an envelope in his hands, similar to the one I had once given him. I wanted to do something special, something to thank you for everything. I felt my heart tighten. "William!" "No, Mom, you don't get to talk yet." "Open it." Inside the envelope was a small handwritten book. Each page was filled with letters from people William had helped through his foundation. Stories of gratitude, hope, and new beginnings. Photos of workshops, counseling sessions, and smiling faces adorned the pages. At the end was a single message from him. "Mom, none of this would have been possible without you. You taught me courage, truth, and the strength of unconditional love. This is for you, because every life changed here started with your love and protection. Proof of what you've been through, proof of the lies, the manipulation, the betrayal. Olivia isn't who she seems, and it's time you see it for yourself." Liam took the envelope cautiously, almost afraid to touch it. He sat down at the dining table, opening it slowly. As he sifted through the contents, his face changed, shock, disbelief, anger, and pain crossing his features in waves. I watched silently, letting him process it all. It was brutal to see him like that, but necessary. The truth always is. Hours passed as he absorbed everything, and finally, he looked up at me, tears glistening in his eyes. "Mom, I can't believe all this time, she used me." His voice cracked, and my heart broke a little more for him. "I know, baby. I know," I said, reaching out to squeeze his hand. "But now you know, and now you can decide what to do." Tears welled in my eyes as I held the book close. "William, this is incredible. I can't believe it." "You deserve it," he said softly, taking my hand. "Not just for me, but for all the people who've been helped. You protected me, And in turn, we've been able to protect so many others. Sarah leaned in, smiling. And we get to share this journey with you. You're part of this family, Mom, in every way. The evening flowed with laughter, stories, and quiet moments of reflection. I watched William interact with friends and colleagues, seeing the man he had become, strong, compassionate, and unshakably honest. Sarah stood by his side, equally grounded, yet full of life and warmth. Together, they radiated hope and love, the kind that can rebuild lives and heal old wounds. As the night wound down, William pulled me aside. "Mom, there's one more thing." He knelt, and to my shock, produced a small velvet box. Inside was a delicate bracelet, engraved with the words, "Strength, Truth, Love." "For you," he said, "to remind you that what you've done, protecting me, standing up for what's right, has made all the difference. You are the heart of this family, Mom, and I want you to carry this with you, always." I felt a lump in my throat, my eyes brimming with tears. "William, I don't know what to say." "Say you'll keep fighting for what matters," he said with a gentle smile. "Say you'll keep being the force of love and truth that you've always been." I nodded, clutching the bracelet to my chest. "I promise." That night, driving home under a sky painted with stars, I reflected on everything that had happened, from the betrayal and manipulation that once threatened to tear our lives apart, to the courage, love, and resilience that had brought us back together. I realized something. Life is never simple, never without challenges. But when you fight for truth, when you protect those you love, and when you stand firm in the face of injustice, even the darkest storms can lead to new beginnings. Months later, William and Sarah's relationship blossomed into something truly beautiful. Their love was steady, honest, and inspiring, a stark contrast to the manipulation and deceit that had plagued his past marriage. I continued my quiet life, tending my garden, cherishing my home, and watching my son thrive. My sanctuary was intact, my family closer than ever, and my heart full. That Christmas Eve, months after the one that changed everything, I found myself sitting by the fireplace, a cup of tea in hand, reflecting on how much had shifted. Life had tested us, yes, but it had also rewarded us. The truth had prevailed, love had endured, and justice had been served. And as the fire crackled and the snow gently fell outside, I realized one final truth. A mother's love never breaks, never falters, and never gives up. It protects, guides, and lights the way, even in the darkest nights. And because of that love, we had all found our freedom, our peace, and our happiness. By midnight, we had cleaned up the kitchen together, the house now quiet and orderly, as if nothing had happened. But we both knew everything had changed. Liam's eyes, once clouded with confusion, now held clarity, a sense of purpose. I could see the old spark returning, and for the first time in months, I felt a glimmer of hope. As we finally sat down to have some tea, watching the first gentle snowfall outside, Liam whispered, "Mom, thank you. I don't know what I would have done without you." I smiled, my own eyes misty. "You don't have to thank me, Liam. You're my son. I would do anything to protect you, always." That Christmas Eve, I realized something profound. Love isn't just about giving gifts. or spending holidays together. True love, the kind that lasts, is about standing up for those you care about, even when it's painful, even when it's hard. And tonight, the next morning, the snow had covered everything in a soft white blanket. Outside, the world looked calm and pure. But inside my house, tension crackled like static electricity. Liam sat at the kitchen table, staring at his phone, hesitating. It was Olivia calling. My stomach twisted, but I said nothing. I had done my part last night. Now it was his turn to decide. Finally, he swiped to answer. "What do you want, Olivia?" His voice was low, calm, but I could hear the edge beneath it. The storm of emotions barely restrained. There was a pause on the other end. Then her voice, smooth and desperate. "Liam, please, just hear me out. I'm at a hotel. I have nowhere to go, and I want to fix things." I watched him, noticing the conflict in his eyes. He had loved her once, trusted her once, but now, with the envelope's contents fresh in his mind, the betrayal was raw. "Fix things?" he asked, incredulous. "Olivia, you cheated on me for a year. You planned to steal from my mother. You lied about everything. There's nothing left to fix." Her tone shifted, trying guilt. "I was scared, confused. Sebastian manipulated me too. He made me believe he loved me, that he'd leave his wife. I was a victim too." Liam shook his head, his jaw tight. "Now you're the victim? Incredible." His hands clenched into fists, but he didn't raise his voice. "I won't let you back into my life. Not today, not tomorrow. You made your choices. Live with them." I could see Olivia's face twisting with anger over the phone as she realized she was losing control. "Fine," she spat. "If that's how you want it, I'll fight. I'm hiring a lawyer. I'll take half of everything. Your apartment, your savings, your furniture, and spousey support." Liam didn't flinch. He held the phone steady, his voice firm and controlled. "Go ahead. You'll see in court what all this evidence shows. Your infidelity, the manipulation, the plan to steal from my mother. It's all documented. No judge will give you a thing. You already lost, Olivia." The line went silent for a moment. Then she hissed, "This isn't over." She hung up abruptly, leaving a ringing silence in the kitchen. Liam set the phone down, breathing deeply, trying to regain calm. I placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "It's okay, Liam. She can try, but we've already won. All you need to do is focus on the future, not her." We spent the next few days preparing. Liam contacted Henry Solis, the divorce lawyer recommended by Mr. Reynolds, showing him every piece of evidence. Henry's reaction made Liam almost smile.